Well, I can tell you who it's not going to be. It's not going to be Sepp Straka.
No, probably. How he's in this is a goddamn miracle.
Welcome back. Final leg of the FedEx. This is it. Like, there's no other opportunity to cash in a ticket or two. We'll look back at the BMW and then dive full in on the Tour Championship, because this is truly the last opportunity for us to talk about the season and, most importantly, cash a couple of tickets. Us is Ben Rasa. Chris is producing. I'm Eytan. Ben, we have the BMW briefly to look back at, and then a crazy, wacky 4-year-old format for the Tour Championship at East Lake, and all of the things that happen with a 30-man field where, as you can see already on the side, we're not doing the 40, 20, 10s. We don't even have long shots here. So, as always, my friend, good to see you. And what a weird transition from the BMW last week to now this wacky-ass format coming down to the Tour Championship.
It's definitely different, but I will say the BMW was a nice middle ground because that was only, 68 players, non-cut. Some of those elements are with us, but of course, when you're talking about a 30-man, when you're talking about, we'll talk about staggered scoring, where guys have strokes applied to them before they even hit a shot. That's something, we were talking a little before the show, and I said, this kind of reminds me of the match play, not in format, but in how different it is, in how unique it is. It's a 1-week sample size of what we're dealing with. It's fun. I like the changes, and we'll talk about that, but the Tour Championship stands on its own, a culmination of a lot of golf this season.
And the format is, I think, more in favor to it just being about the moment than it is about the year. And we see that in a lot of individual sports where you accrue points and then you have in a standing and win without maybe winning the major event at the end of it. So there is a lot of, hey, you better show up. You better play against 29 other guys. And if you're Scotty Scheffler starting 10 under, or if you're all the way back, right, Scythe and others who are, looking at even par, it's a tough one. But the BMW, it was easier than I think. We saw a man right now who arguably may not even be human and is on some hell of a stretch of just playing dominant golf, and Patrick Cantlay doing Patrick Cantlay things. Other than that, I don't know how much more or how much you are extrapolating from the BMW that maybe can fold into the Tour Championship. Different course, granted, different things, different strategy, etc. But, Wilmington, the rough was a little tougher than I thought it would be. But overall, I mean, you saw there's no real angles or slope that you're hitting off. You're going up and down, but if you hit for distance, you're fine.
Yeah, I mean, I thought the course represented itself well. It didn't get out of control. The scores were in line with past BMW championships from other courses. You had some big names, and then you had the beauty of the FedEx Cup. Scott Stallings has put himself, in the mix. That's a guy who not even remotely thought that he would even be in the top 30, and he's, in the middle of the pack. So that was entertaining. I didn't really have much to say. You saw some blow up holes like Morikawa. Oh my God. Some dangerous things there. And it was interesting. Xander and Cantlay, they got that mojo, the Zurich Classic pairing. They were both in the hunt. Scheffler represented him well. I didn't have a lot of takeaways though, truly. My card was nothing substantial either way. It wasn't a disaster, but I didn't really have the outrights that I was looking for. So we trimmed the field. We've got 30 guys left. We got a whole new scenario to break down.
I'll say this before we go. We had 7 names that we brought up, and this has been a theme, and I'm not cherry picking anything. You have all the putting for does on file here on the Odd Shopper channel, where you should already be subscribed. 15,000. So congrats to Ben and so many other people who have been here from day one, building this sucker up to what it is. And it's really just the start. Like, think about it. 15,000 is the first step. So you want to be part of this growing community. Thumbs up button, notification bell, so you know when this drops. That aside, though, we talk about this every week about, hey, build our outrights with top 20s, tail those, and you're going to cash. You're going to find a way to make some money, even if it's recouping what you've laid out for outrights. Well, guess what, Rasa? I counted 7 guys that between you and I, we gave out last week that finished T20 or better. Now, T19 technically, but T19 or better, including and not limited to my guy, Kurt Kitayama.
Kurt Kitayama did play pretty well. Now, I will say, anti in our defense, it's a lot easier when we only have 70 guys to choose from. But you know what? Tickets and money, those lines were still very soft. And you can, I mean, if you look at my year, I've hit a couple outrights, particularly early in the year, but I've had a long drought without an outright. I have been saved by laddering a lot of my outrights because they've been close. I've hit a lot of top fives, top tens, top 20s. And that is the key. And we're going to be talking about that during the swing season, no doubt. Here, it's a little different, as you alluded to. We can't really bet a lot of those things. So we're going to have to dive into some other types of formats and see what can we garner in terms of value at a field that just has 30 players.
So this is a really cool opportunity for somebody out here right now, if they wanted to take advantage of the risk-free opportunity that's still there, the risk-free bet at BetMGM. And it's really simple, right? We have a link below. We also have a promo code PUTT for dough, P-U-T-T for dough. You see Jamie there with the $1,000 risk-free bet. And what we have to remind you all out there is it doesn't need to be $1,000. If you have a bankroll set aside, right? Like maybe you have a $500 bankroll set aside for college football. You've already been checking out the shorts, the season previews for different teams that Gajeski and Rasa have up there. Betting You is fired up and cooking. So you have your bankroll set aside. You can sign up. Just jump in, deposit your bankroll, $500. Let's say that's the number at BetMGM, and then put that on any bet. It can even be a wager here. Let's say you like Rasa's top play here at the Tour Championship. It's risk-free, meaning even if it's a plus 1,200 Will Zalatoris, which it isn't, you can still capitalize on that or get your money back, whatever the name may be. So think about doubling or tripling or maybe even more your bankroll for a football season before it even begins.
It's the move. There's no doubt about it. A ton of people have taken advantage of it, and it's been awesome to hear the success stories. And it's been even awesome to hear some people that say, hey, I got a free shot. It didn't work, and now I'm right where I started. No big deal. That's a great opportunity. So we've, of course, been advocating for that because when football starts, you know you're going to want that extra money for the bankroll. And in the meantime, maybe you tail a couple of these Tour Championship picks.
And look, if you hit and that risk-free comes back and it's all this money in your account, why not put a little sprinkle on Bowling Green outright to knock off the fighting Chip Kellys?
Yeah, that's what we need to do. Bowling Green is going to be better. It'll be better than Northwestern, who that's a different show for a different time.
That's for betting you.
That's for betting you on Wednesdays on this very channel. But I want to ask you before we really dive in, do you like what they've done here in terms of saying, okay, the winner of the Tour Championship will in fact win the FedEx Cup. We're gonna give a guy strokes based on where he's at in these standings and make it so it's consolidated, where you couldn't have a situation where one guy wins this event, but the guy who was in first in the FedEx Cup comes in third and he actually wins the whole thing, and make it more confusing.
From a betting standpoint, no, because if all things are not equal, but if all things are level, like there's no handicap coming into a 30-man event, I think we have an easier time identifying back-end value. And I'm not talking about Tom Hoagie out here. I'm just talking about in general, like back-end value with a shot to take advantage of variance and still in a cutless event win the thing on a Saturday or even Sunday. But with the handicap from a betting standpoint, I feel like, and maybe this is just being selfish or being a child about it, that's fine, but it makes our jobs a little more difficult to find mid to long range. That's why we don't even have a long range thing right next to me, sorry, that way, on the camera, because it's just difficult, non-zero, but close to impossible to find it. From an entertainment, sit down on my couch, watch what's happening, steal the show. If you're Rory McIlroy in 2019 standpoint, absolutely. I love this whole whack-ass format here, and I love the fact that you can come in as Rory McIlroy this year, John Rahm, or anyone else, and really have a shot to win it, because, hey, if you're Scotty Scheffler and you're 10 under and you blow it, it's kind of on you.
Yeah, I'm not gonna disagree, because I think we arrived at the same conclusion ultimately. I like this, and I think it's interesting. So if there was no strokes applied, you wouldn't see, like, the bottom guys are 300. It's not like we couldn't find going long. I just don't think they're particularly good bets, but these guys are massive odds. Like you would never find guys 200, 300 to 1 in a 30-man field if they weren't 10 strokes behind. That's the beauty of it. I think there is something to exploit because we don't have a lot of data on how big of a deal it is to start a tournament up 4 strokes on somebody else over 72 holes. And I like that. I think it's more concise in the fact that you will never have situations where a guy is coming down late on Sunday knowing not that he needs to win the tournament, that he needs to come in the top 4 to win the FedEx Cup. So everyone's going for the win. I like it like this. I actually think it makes the betting board not easier, but more lucrative potentially.
So let's explore the top end of it on a point that you just raised as far as, looking at these guys at the top and maintaining or dealing with, 3-4 strokes back in the data. And look, we've talked about this before. I mean, hell, the BMW was the first time at Wilmington. We've seen events this year, Ben, where it's been 2 or 3 years history, maybe 3-4 years history at that course. It's limited or it's moved around. The event is new and it's been limited. So we do have 3 years of some data in front of us. And I don't want to just brush it under the rug that 2 of the 3 years, the top golfer in the world has held on starting 10 under. And the only other time happened to be Rory freaking McIlroy coming from 4 under. So this is not Tony Finau in 2019. I think it does add, even if it's not a lot, I think it does add some emphasis on being at the top and how difficult it can be in this new format. We only have 3 years. I'll concede that.
Yeah, I think over time, I mean, you're going to see this. There's no doubt in my mind. If you're starting at the top, of course, you are the most likely winner, but you are not likely to win. Even in the odds, it's reflected in that. Like Scottie Scheffler is the favorite, but he is not likely. He's plus 250, which for golf terms is very, very low. But he's not the favorite in terms of him or the field. He would obviously be plus money in that because he's most likely not going to win. And it's not, I think something that I struggled with the first couple times of this format is looking at it as Scottie Scheffler is 10 under and then everybody else is just chasing him. And that's not the case. There are plenty of other guys that are starting 8 under or 6 under or 5 under or 2 under, whatever it may be. And there's a whole board of it. So I think step one is this. I think Scottie Scheffler is unbettable at that price. You're going to have to try to find to beat him. If you don't think he's going to win, it makes it a lot easier. If you do, you're going to really have to get creative because there's basically no meat left on that bone.
So unbettable. And I know
at 250.
Oh, it is. It is. But so are so many other people. And I feel like I kind of was forced into finding a guy who is going to straddle in this particular field with this bonus stroke applied here, the top of the board / long shot. And the only thing or mid range. And the only thing that puts him as far as a top of the board play is where arguably he starts. But your guy, number one, still from like an odds standpoint, I would argue, is unbettable, but from a realistic standpoint to odds standpoint, Venn diagram, right, meeting the middle is probably the best play on the entire board.
Yeah, I mean, listen, there's 30 guys, and some of them have realistically no chance. It would take a borderline miracle to lap the entire field. I'm okay taking some short prices. I think the difference between 7 to 1 for Xander, who you're alluding to, and who I really like here, and plus 250 for Scheffler, You're talking about them starting. Xander Schauffele is 6 under. He's only behind 3 guys, and he's 4 shots back of Scheffler with 72 holes to go. That to me is basically meaningless if Xander goes out and plays as good as he can. Basically what he did at the BMW Championship, plus 5.6 with the approach, 6.5 tee to green, positive with the putter again. He's going to be right there, and he's not boxed out. It's not like if Scheffler posts a number, Xander can't get there. 7 to 1 is a pretty good number for me. Of the elite guys, Cantlay at 4 to 1, Scheffler at plus 250, Xander at 7 to 1, Will Z at 12 to 1. I like Xander the best by far.
Yeah, I mean, you can push this. I'll give you my guy in response to what you're saying about Xander. But look, Zalatoris the newfound success, the variance, extreme variance that still exists with his game and the putter. At 1,200, it's just not worth it. Rory is
He might be
interesting, but
hurt.
well, that's another thing. Yeah, that's a great point too. Is that the guy was basically carted off, and was just vehicled off at the end of the the event at the parking lot. But look, Rory at 1,400. It's Rory. It's also the fact that he's done this at the same number before, so you're not going to get any budge, any break. Rahm, I think we talked about this on Slack at 1,600 on BetMGM. I would say an unbettable number for a guy who does have a chance to definitely close that gap. But you've got Finau and others who are in front of him that are getting longer odds. And Finau, I think, at 1,800 is a representation of recent success. And clearly, if that's the case in which the books want to reflect it, that's fine, but probably not a season-long comparison of catching up with these guys. And that leaves me to Sam Burns. 3 wins, top 19, before that top 20 at St. Jude. I'd argue, Ben, that of all the guys that are listed from 1 through 9, stopping at Sepp Straka, that this is the quietest 3-win guy that's 5 back of the leader that we probably have had in the 3 years. And that works to Sam Burns' favor only in that he's 22-1. And you could probably make the argument that he should be closer to Finau at 18-1.
I don't think that that's outlandish to say by any stretch. And Sam Burns, he did get some experience on East Lake. Not a shock that he seemed to really love the greens, Bermuda specialist, really fast greens. That's going to help him. Tee to green, it hasn't been great. He was minus 2.4 last week, and that's what really held him back. He gained 4 strokes putting. He's going to have one of the, Sam Burns has done this. When he gets going, he's going to need to go low and get himself in the hunt. And he probably, to me, would want to hope that East Lake plays a little more forgiving, because if it's really difficult, that's going to be a problem. In recent years, it has been easier and manageable because the longer, let's be realistic. If you're not one of the elite guys, you want more variance in the course because you need to make up strokes on everybody else. Scotty Scheffler wants nothing crazy, keep it steady, and he's going to be in the hunt. Sam Burns is in that middle ground. You mentioned 5th place, only back of 4 guys. I think it's a fine number if you wanted to get your card started there for sure.
All right, let's move to the mid-range. And again, just to what you were talking about, where he's gaining strokes is on the green. If he's consistently putting the ball well, that's an opportunity in a field like this, in an event like this, to gain. And I think that's what I was looking at. I'd rather somebody be gaining strokes on the green, struggling elsewhere, coming into an event like this than the opposite, no?
Well, you could take it 2 ways. I mean, I think that if you've got the ability to really roll it, that gives you the ceiling. You can't go crazy low without putting. There's no doubt. On the flip side, putting is so random that it's hard to just say, I'm going to peg this guy for 5 strokes putting. You got to hit the ball off the tee. As we've both talked about,
yes,
you can't suddenly drive at 330, but even the worst of putters can suddenly get hot. Sam Burns is a damn good iron player. I don't worry about him tee to green either. It's just he's doing a lot of damage with the putter lately.
Yeah, fair enough. Let's hit the mid-range. You've got 2 guys. I'll squeeze one in before it's the final card here. And again, there's not going to be any other opportunity but to nail some outright. So what are you looking at and who are you looking at in the mid-range?
So this is where you start to play the if game. Yep. If Scotty Scheffler and Patrick Cantlay don't play amazing, it opens the door for these guys who are in like 15th and they're starting with only 3 under or 2 under even if you want to get aggressive. I think to do it, you're going to need an elite player. To me, Justin Thomas has proven that when he has his A-plus game, I mean, he flirts with the best scores I've ever seen. And he hasn't had his A-plus game basically all year, certainly after the PGA, that's for sure. He lost another 4 strokes putting at the BMW. But Justin Thomas, the number really got to me there, 28-1 for him. And then even I'll just throw in quickly Matthew Fitzpatrick at 40-1. Yes, these guys are starting behind. They're both 3 under. So they're 7 shots back of Scheffler. If they can just post a good round on Thursday, climb up the board, all you need to do is get yourself in position on the weekend, only be 3, 4, 5 shots off the lead. They do that. I love these numbers at 28 and 40-1.
Fitzpatrick 40-1 was a little surprising when I saw that, because applying the logic that you talked about at the start and we've brought up here, you're not 10 strokes back. You're a couple back of one guy, and there's a smaller field in front of you, but there's variance in this game, and you can make ground up even on one day, depending on what's happening.
Yeah.
So I love the fact that you found a guy in Fitzpatrick like that. I'm almost jealous that I went 2 other guys on my long shot column on the Odd Shopper channel here, and I didn't, but then I'd be accused of stealing. So
You don't want to be stealing from me, trust me.
well, you
that's
probably accused me of stealing Grillo last week.
well,
right?
that's actually true because you did steal him, but I could give
it
you
came
50.
through conversation, Rasa. Come on.
That's what they all say.
That's true.
I just think that again with the guy, I want to just like stress this. It's not about like, oh my God, he's got to go catch Scotty Scheffler. That is not the case. He needs to just move up the board and then let's see. The reality of the situation is if Scotty Scheffler plays great golf, he is going to box out most of the field where no matter what they do, they just, you can't go that low. But if he plays average golf, if he struggles, it opens the door immensely because these guys, they're only 5 shots back of Cantlay over 72 holes. That's nothing. They can make that up in a couple holes. We see it all the time at Eastlake. So I'd be careful with, be ready to react with live betting. Guys are going to move up this board and move up quickly.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, I'm 10 times more worried about if I'm picking anybody other than Patrick Cantlay, including Scotty Scheffler, which I'm not because of what you laid out. I'm 10 times more worried about Patrick Cantlay than anybody else in this field. I mean, this guy is a cyborg right now. All right, let me hit you with Sungjae Im for a couple of reasons. The way in which he's been playing consistently down the stretch here and the style in which he plays. You talk about taking advantage of what's around you. I think the easy answer is to look, people may be doing this, look for somebody who's going to come out, you know, Tony Finau, who could shoot a 61 on Thursday and shock the world here, but then have to hold on. I want somebody who can gradually move up the board by doing 2 things. One, playing ultra consistent golf, and that's what Sungjae has been able to do, put together more often than not over this last stretch. After really the Scottish Open and the Open Championship, which was just abysmal, he's just been on fire right now. He has the metrics. I mean, you can look at it, strokes gained across the board. He has the metrics to compete. And the last thing I'll leave you with this, Ben, is weathering the storm, right? I want a guy who, if it's variance, if it's just circumstance on the course, if it's rough, if it's a certain hole, if it's something that's consistently biting or eating at the majority of the field, I want a guy who can weather the storm. And Im has a balanced approach. And I think, look, he's going to start out in the back, but for somebody who's starting out in that range of 6 to 10 with Smith, Rory, Finau, and Straka, Sungjae Im numbers just seemed a little off to me with his capability of closing a gap.
Yeah, I don't
at
even
30 to 1.
The only thing I'd push back there, and I think you would agree as you said it, he's not really starting from the back. He's in the top third of the field in the 6 to 10 range. It's not like he's in 30th.
Right. And he's 30 to 1.
Yeah, a great number. Sungjae was really close to being on my card as well. The one thing that I'm not saying it's concerning in the sense that I don't think he can flip it. He's been outstanding with the putter, outstanding off the tee. He's lost 2 straight weeks with the irons, not massively, but for him, he needs to be better with the approach. That is one of the height of his powers. We've seen him really succeed in Florida on par 70 tracks that are Bermuda centric. That fits the profile here. Sungjae Im has certainly got the game to contend. I just think if he does in fact contend, we're going to see his approach numbers really take a leap forward this week.
Absolutely, man. So let's break it all down here on the way out. Final card. And you can keep it. It's going to be short and sweet. I'm just going to tail all your guys as well after I run it back. But we've only given out what 5 guys total here, right? So this is a short but sweet final card.
And I think it's a formula that I'm going to probably use a lot in the coming years here. We gave out a handful of golfers, and they're all in the same range. They're in not the immediate top and not the immediate bottom. They're in the middle of the pack. Xander starts in 4th. Sam Burns starts in 5th. Sungjae is in the 6 through 10. Fitzy's in the 11 through 15. Justin Thomas is in the 11, 15. You know, those guys that are lurking. Yep. I think that's how we attack it. That's what I'm going to do. I think that I'm going to try to beat Cantlay and Scheffler with Xander in particular. And if not, a couple long shots with immaculate players in Fitzy and Justin Thomas. I will give a shout out to Aaron Wise just for being here. He is at
Hey,
250 to 1. He's in the last group. He will not be winning the Tour Championship, but my boy did make it to East Lake, and that is an accomplishment in itself.
we had him last week. He was one of my mid-range guys. The ladder on the long shot column, Adam, and you were all. I mean, I just know I could always appeal to you with and with a wise play here. Adam Scott was another guy that we nailed, both as far as a top 20 tail to an outright to also the ladder on the odd shopper. So a lot of things are happening here. What goes on next week? Are we done?
I mean, we take about a 5-minute, how the PGA streets roll out.
Right.
We take a little breather, and then it starts back up, and there'll be live golf. There'll be the swing season. The meantime, friends, come and check out both of us talking college football. College football kicks off Saturday. Get ready. We're going to have plenty of content here. And then, of course, when there is golf, we will be here talking putting for dough. No breaks in the PGA season. It's been a hell of a year. Thanks to you guys for supporting the show. It's a new show that we started this year. I just want to say thanks to everyone for really making it a blast. One of my favorite of the week that we do.
Look at that. If he has to put up with my shit, and it's still one of the favorite things of the week, there's a lot of heart behind what Ben Ross is doing here on Putting.
Need heart, like Shane Falco.
Thanks to Chris for producing, making us look good all year. Yeah, we keep going. This is a 13-month-a-year sport by all means. Take advantage of that BetMGM promo if you haven't already. This probably won't be around long, so you can jump right in on all of the content. Over 15,000 people have subscribed. You should too. The BetMGM link is below. You can sign up our promo code PUT for dough, P-U-T-T for dough. And again, up to $1,000. Doesn't have to be. Put it on anything. Ben Ross's sharp play of the day. Follow that. Put it on that. It's risk-free. You'll get it right back if you hit it or don't hit it, pardon me. So for Ben, for Chris, I'm Eytan. We'll see you. But for now, let's cash some tickets.